Yeah, no, I mean, hey, we didn't know what was going to happen.
Yeah, but we didn't know what we were preparing for.
So it's very hard to prepare. It's a bit like a nuclear war.
Yes.
Is
a dozen enough? But in the back of my mind, wool if you don't mind. Wear wool. But the underlying fact was that we knew there were people coming, good people coming. There was a void left by the Adelaide Grand Prix, and this was the perfect weekend to fill it.
And the track is actually only about 400 metres from the old Adelaide Grand Prix track, so it's sort of in an historic setting.
Yes. The name of the place is the Adelaide Model Raceway, and it contains an 8-lane track, vintage 1960s, flat, dry surface, bit of a goat track really, but more than good enough for what we need to do this weekend.
With a 7-race card which starts on Friday night and concludes on Sunday with the inaugural Adelaide Slot Car Grand Prix.
This is a rubber slot car raceway. We don't race on foam, we don't use goo, we don't muck around with any of that stuff. It's just pure 100% rubber that we rip up every week, and people just love it. That's how it used to be, and that's how it should be. Rubber tyres. You can smell them in the cabinet. They're lovely. You can almost eat the little suckers, but you can't. You put them on your car, and they go really well. Cars slide, have a lot of fun.
I walked into a slot car track in Essendon in Melbourne in about 1965 as a little boy, and I remember I could barely see over the track, and I remember the cars that were running, and that's never left me.
There's a car.
I just like slot cars, but then again, I was always a toy type kid. I wasn't a sporty kid. Where other kids were out playing footy, etc., I was fogging up the window in the local toy shop.
Before the race, I like to offer a concourse event. The idea is to choose which is the best set-up car, the best paint job, the chassis underneath must be as clean as possible. It all comes into it. And I manufacture bodies, it's fitting that I like to look at them. And
The race is 24 minutes long, broken up into 8 3-minute brackets where each driver gets to run on each lane over the course of the 24 minutes. And quite simply, the person with the most number of laps wins the race.
Most of us would like to race real cars, but we just can't. So, with a slot car, you can go and pick a plastic kit of a car that you really like. You can take it home and you can build it up as if it's the real one. You're indulging, but without the expense or the time. And you can then put a motor in it, bring it down here and see how it goes.
How you go about it is your business. That too I like is that there's no book written that'll tell you how to get a slot car going quickly. One that you've made yourself. You just have to find out as you build it. Yeah, the slowest motor that you can get your hands on brass bevel gears because they're ancient and they're well machined, and this old Holden body. It's just a perfect match of old bits, and the cars proved to be really competitive, slow on the straights but fast in the corners.
Right, the cars out on the track now are the 50s Formula 1 cars. These have again got a thick Lexan body or a hard plastic body, depending on the availability. And they were modelled on the front engine Formula 1 cars of the 1950s. We don't restrict motors, and being relatively light cars with any sort of motor, they are very twitchy and require a great deal of care to drive.
I think you find a lot of people that are into toys as adults, it's something they missed out on as a child and they want to relive it. I mean, I deal with toy people all the time, and the amount of people that say, I always wanted one of those as a kid, or I had one of those as a kid and it got lost and I want another one back, because they want to capture that emotional buzz that they sort of had.
Drivers ready, watching for the green, please.
We're just getting the rhythm.
It's all right to go around and pick everyone else.
It's crazy, people are always looking for new forms of realistic type entertainment. We've played around with video games and that. You can't get any more exciting and realistic, when it comes to car racing, than having a slot car. Sure, you can have it happening on a TV screen and you can push buttons and you see a picture in front of you and there's noises, but it's not the same as having a three-dimensional gizmo roaring around the track against a whole lot of other guys, and there's always the unknowns. And there is a little bit of gamesmanship. I mean, you might be standing sort of next to a bloke and you're going around side by side. Now, sooner or later you're going to knock each other out, so you might just say, listen, I'm coming past you now. And you're talking to each other while you're racing. Well, they're the guys I enjoy racing with.
On the red people. Yellow or blue? Blue.
Black.
Yeah, get on pink, eh? Yep.
When you're out on your own, if you're away from the pack, that's it, you just go for it. You can use up more of the track, but the hardest thing to do is driving in a pack. That's particularly coming down through the S's. If you've got sedans, big wide sedans, where there's only a little gap between each car, and they're all side by side coming down the S's. You all want to beat each other, but you don't want to knock each other off. That's hard. That's where the real skill is, racing rather than bashing your way through. I'd rather get out there and duel with them. It's a real buzz, particularly if you're dueling right on to the last lap. That's really good.
Can't rev up that computer there, Bill.
You just take it easy, Bill. Plenty of time.
Goodness. With 364 laps, Ian. Second with 246, 100 laps down, was Alan, and third was on 243 was Robert. Thank you.
Make sure you can see the eyes. The eyes have it.
But if you want to repair them, but no complete car change, no complete sort of chassis change. But if you want to fix the motor or do something like that, that's fine. Okay? Now, as far as driver changes go, you can change when you want, but we don't turn the clock off. Right, okay. Right, it's all quiet, please, drivers. Watch the green, please. When the green is done, that's when it's done. Now, all of these cars have the Cox Magnesium Sidewinder chassis with 36Ds. The cars are basically as they came from the Cox factory. We've chosen the Cox cars for the Enduro race because of their durability. The other thing too is, back in the 1960s, there were quite a few Enduro races and Cox cars were raced during these, so it's sort of an historic reenactment.
That Enduro was the sweetest thing that someone...
That was the world's best ever slot car race. Don't you
That was wild.
Yeah.
People are going to talk for that for years, and they're going to embroider and embellish on it, and it'll be a lot bigger than it actually was in 10 years' time.
Yeah, hundreds of rubber. Last night after the Enduro, you could make, I don't know, about a dozen tyres out of the rubber. It was on the track.
I wouldn't have expected that. 3,500 laps, and they were going as quick at the end as they were at the start. They sounded sweet.
Yeah.
It was certainly just getting a piece of vintage slot car fun and putting it right here and now, and it worked really well. You know, the fast stuff that people talk about, you know, the right bearings, the right motor, the right chassis handling combinations, is got nothing. It's all out the window. All the same chassis, all the same motors, and
a lot of fun.
A lot of fun.
And 6 hours. Like, the other thing was virtually everyone that came over the weekend raced in that race.
Yeah.
I mean,
and they all got completely immersed in it.
Yeah, a communal sort of race.
So we're finally here, the day of the big race. Drivers at their peak, cars finely tuned, ready for the ultimate test, waiting for the green.
My head's not with it today, and I had fun last night, bulk fun in the Cox Enduro, so I let John run it. And I'll just go and sit in the sun.
But it's your car that he's driving?
Yeah, my car, yeah. Okay, but no, just a little bit foggy this afternoon. And I'd probably cause more carnage out there and spoil other people's fun, so, you know, I'll go and sit somewhere quietly, I think. Nurse me headache.
Well, I didn't make the final the last race. I just want to get into the final. That's all I care about.
And how's your car?
Oh, it's all right. I just did a few mods to it, and it's looking a little bit sort of better. Yeah. I think it'll be okay as long as it lasts.
Oh, well, after a bit of practice there, I'm a bit happy. I was actually going past people for a change, you know, so that's something different. So I think we're going to have to qualify for the final using the numbers, so just a matter of keeping it together for the qualifying session.
Yeah, well, my expectations are all over the shop because I've just been handed this vehicle, and I've used it in another form before, but not like this one. So, but my expectations are always high. I always like to think that I'm going to win. That hasn't proved correct so far. But yes, I think I'll do well. I'll be in the final.
Grand Prix? Yep. Yep. I'm going to win. I don't know that for sure, but I'm going to try my best, put it that way. Yeah. Oh no, there's plenty of good drivers, but I mean, if you're not going to go in it confident, what's the point of going in it? So, yeah.
How's in good form?
Yep, yeah, it's going well. Yeah, fresh from yesterday, so just changed the body shell. She's a goer, freshly painted, new paint, so it should go faster.
Yes, smooth is the name of the game. With the wheels sort of being open, you only just need nick anybody and you'll go over for sure. So stay on and keep out of trouble and hopefully win.
So what's going to happen is each driver has to line up on the one lane, run through, and then on the lap times, the 8 fastest cars will then be on the grid for the main race.
How many laps are they doing?
Just 10, and out of those 10 we'll just pick their fastest lap.
Sounds pretty tense.
I hope so.
You said you were going to do that.
What's that doing? So I know which car is which.
Start for 1996 Adelaide Grand Prix, waiting for the green. And they're away. All drivers got through the donut cleanly. And Neil's got a problem, he's off. And that's Alan out in the front now. Paul's off in the donut and he's blocking Dennis. And they're all coming through the S's now, and oh, Alan's off. And around the donut, Peter's in the lead. Alan's off again. Jim's hot on Peter's trail. Paul's off, blocking Dennis. Oh, and we've got John Clift off. John is still sitting there. Quick, John, get going. Losing valuable seconds. John's back on the pace now. Waiting for the green, second bracket. Start of the second bracket, and Jim is still in the lead. Peter's had a bad crash, he's on the floor. Oh, and Jim's coming to a halt. What? Right, quick, Bruce, put it back on. Jim is still 2.7 seconds in the lead with Neil in second place. And now he's out to 2.9. And Jim's stretched his lead out now to 3 seconds. Nearing the end of this bracket, Jim is now out to 5.5 seconds, nearly 1 lap over Neil. And Jim is really on the pace.
Hair flat.
Waiting for the green. And on opposite sides of the track we have Jim in the lead and Neil in second place. 1 lap ahead, Jim leading Neil. Neil is slowly whittling back the lead from Jim. And oh, Jim's off. Jim's off again. Mind on the job, Jim. Jim's only 2.8 in front. The pressure's on Jim, but he's holding at 2.8. Jim's off again. Come on, Evan, get his car back on. Jim, can't keep this up. We've got a new leader. Neil's past Jim. Neil's holding that lead at 0.6. Jim's off again in the same spot. Neil's out to 3.36 seconds. And there's Neil in the lead and Jim in second, but the lead is 3.6 seconds. Neil's getting away from Jim. And the time difference now is 3.7, and lap by lap, Neil is slowly edging his way in front of Jim. And now we have a change of position. Alan has moved up into second, displacing Jim. .56 seconds. Alan is closing on Neil. Neil's off in the S's. He's marshalling his own car. He's back on the track. Alan, he's into the lead. Bracket 4, and we've got a new leader. Good clean driving too from the rest of the field with very few offs. The progressive total at the end of bracket 4, John Clift on 126. Alan 127, John Ward 122, Neil 126, Jim 126, so 3 on 126. Peter on 109, Dennis on 122 and Paul on 123, watching for the green for the 5th bracket. Bracket 5, and we've got Alan in the lead from Neil. Alan's opening up the gap. It's gone from 0.4 to a clear second. As the laps go by, Alan's opening up even more. Lap after lap, it's neck and neck. First Neil gaining, then Alan getting away. Through the donut, we've got a very tight formation. Oh, he's lost it in the donut. He's losing valuable time. That spin of Neil's has told Alan's now a clear lap in front. Bracket 6 begins with Alan 1 lap up on Neil. Paul is off in the donut. Oh, and Neil's off as well. The pressure's getting to him, I think. Alan's lead now is out to 8.16 seconds. Alan's got a good lead now, nearly 2 laps.
I'm feeling better now. I was a bit stressed.
We're into bracket 7 now. Despite the pressure that Neil's putting on Alan, Alan is still maintaining that barrier. John's on 223, Alan's on 227, John Ward's on 194, Neil's on 226, Jim's 219, Peter's 197, Dennis is 211 and Paul is 216. Getting ready for the next and last bracket. Alan's putting in some consistent driving here to stay in front of Neil, and Neil's trying to put the pressure on Alan. Neil's trying real hard. Oh, and he's come off again in the donut. That off moment for Neil is starting to tell, with Alan now building up a 10+ second gap. Oh, Neil's off. Oh, he's taken Dennis, and now Alan's off as well. The pressure's really starting to show now. That accident has cost Neil dearly, with Alan now at the 12.84 seconds. At this stage, Alan looks like he's in a commanding lead. Oh no, drama on the top corner for Alan. Bit of bad marshalling there has cost Alan some valuable time.
Thank you. It's all over.
Despite where they finished, all drivers should be really happy. It was some great clean racing.
How do you feel?
It's a rush of adrenaline and it's slowly going down to my feet. The red mist is disappearing from my eyes.
How did you go?
My blood pressure's down. Terrible. The wheels came loose in the middle of the race and I had to stop and tighten up some wheels, so I'm about 20 laps behind, I think. Yeah.
Good fun, real good fun. Nerve-wracking, tense. I tell you what, it was with Neil in the last race. I thought all I need to do is try and stay in front of him and just stay on, and that's all I tried to do. And he got in heaps of trouble as much as I did. And I mean, yeah, it was lucky.
Just came off a few times during the race and get too far behind, you got to put the pressure on, and makes it hard to catch up then.
Well, I could see that I was being passed by Alan, and if I tried to work hard to catch him, I would have got into trouble, so I let him go.
I came fourth by a barest of margins. Oh, really? About 3 laps. Too much good stuff out there. Mine was concocted in half an hour, an hour prior to the race. I surprised myself and surprised a few others, but just wasn't there,
I can understand why you're so stressed before the race.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, it's with great pleasure I'd like to present the winner of the Adelaide Grand Prix, his laurel wreath and his trophy. Congratulations.
Side of the court for photo opportunities.
Thank you. I hope you don't say anything. Just firstly, I'd like to say thank you to everybody who came here, participated on the weekend. I thought it was fantastic. We should do this more often. To Bill, to John, to Leon for providing the track and the premises. Everything was fantastic. The film crew, excellent. And just thanks to everyone. Just been a really good weekend. Thanks very much.
Well, hey, it's off time. It's sort of playtime. It is a hobby.
It is a hobby.
And we're grown men playing with toy cars.
Yeah, I don't accept that.
Well, it's true.
But no, it's precision engineering.
Yeah.
Deft touch.
Yeah.
No Nintendo back there.
No. It's all, touchy-feely. Yeah.
So one of you thinks it's toys and one of you thinks it's precision engineering.
No, we both think exactly the same.
It's just that the words are spelt differently.
Yeah. Toys is easy to spell. Bruce?
it?